Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Empowerment with Elizabeth. Today I'm here with my sweet new friends, Peyton and Camille, and they're going to chat with us about being state title holders and their prep for Miss America and Miss America's Teen. So, Camille and Peyton, tell us a little bit about yourselves.
All right, yeah, I'll go ahead and start off. My name is Camille Cathey, and I'm Miss Arkansas 2024. I just recently won the title about 4 weeks ago. Peyton was the night before me, and it has been such a fun 4 weeks. In my free time, I love to read, write, speak. I love acting. I'm a big movie buff. So those are a few things that I like to do when I'm not wearing a crown and sash. My favorite color is yellow. I love popcorn and I'm constantly in the car as of late, but I have been having the time of my life as Miss Arkansas, and I've competed in the program for about a total of 5 years.
Hi, I'm Peyton, and I am Miss Arkansas's teen, and I was crowned the night before Camille, and this is actually my first year doing pageants at all, so it's been such a new experience, and I have such a great mentor. But my favorite color is pink, and I love to dance, and I also love anything like politics, so I've been able to incorporate those into Miss America, Prep, and Miss Arkansas, so I'm just really excited for the year ahead.
I love it. I love it. So, Peyton, you're a newbie. Camille, you've been competing. I want to know how you guys both got into pageantry. What kind of got you interested? Was there a person? Was there an event? And then talk about how it got you to where you are now.
Yeah, so my mom did pageants, and so I always kind of grew up watching Miss Arkansas, and I was a little diamond, so I kind of grew up in that sense too, and that really started getting me active in watching and engaged. So after that year, I really just made sure I knew exactly who Miss Arkansas was that year and the team. And so she convinced me to do the last preliminary of the season after never doing pageants, and I ended up winning the title that she was 25 years prior in the same dress. So it was a full circle moment.
So sweet. I love that story. It's the best. So mine was a little different, but similar in the sense that I was also a diamond, which is basically Arkansas's, it used to be called the Princess Program. So if I say that, that's what I'm referring to, but it's now called the Diamond Program. And it's basically Arkansas's, I think Texas actually has something similar to it, like the Lone Star Program. So it's a mentorship program, and every Miss Arkansas and Miss Arkansas's teen contestant gets to take 1 to 4 diamonds with them to the competition each year. And so when I was 6 years old, someone who was competing in Miss Arkansas's teen saw my picture in a hair salon while she was getting her hair done. And she was like, I really need a diamond to go to Miss Arkansas's teen with me. Do you think that little girl right there would want to go? And the hairstylist happened to know my mom. And she said, oh, her mom is such a girl mom. They've never done anything to do with pageants, but like, I'll ask. And so my mom ended up asking me if that would be something I was interested in. And I imagine that I probably heard I get to be with an older girl and wear dresses, and I bet I was like head over heels in love with it already. But then, so I grew up in the Diamond program from the time I was 6 to 10, and I fell in love with the organization and wanted to compete so badly. And so then when I was 13, I started competing for the Miss Arkansas teen title, and I competed in a couple preliminaries and then got to go to state that year. And I was fourth runner up. And then I went back when I was 14, and then I went back when I was 15, turned 16, and won Miss Arkansas's teen. So that was so amazing. And the older I got, the more, like, obviously I was in love with the program because of the older girls that poured into me and that I obviously idolized as a little diamond. But the older I got, the more interested and in love I became with the program because of all the amazing scholarship opportunities and the other facets of the organization that really shape you into like the best type of person you can be. And then last year I competed for the title of Miss Arkansas, and I was first runner up to our incredible Miss Arkansas 2023. And then this year I came back and I'm now Miss Arkansas, which is still so crazy to hear and say. So
I love it. I love it. And y'all have kind of touched on it already, but I want to hear about you guys' talents. So, Peyton, you mentioned that you love dancing, and Camille, I know you're a singer. So, talk to us about each of your separate talents, why you decided to start those talents, and then also what goes into selecting a piece for state and then now Miss America and Miss America's Teen.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been singing since I was little. My dad would literally take me upstairs to like our big stereo system, and I would listen to the Eagles or AC/DC with him and sing along to that. But then obviously when I got into the Diamond program and then decided I was going to compete for Miss Arkansas's team, I'd been taking voice lessons my whole life and loved to sing. And I thought that that was such a fun way to express myself. So, mainly for me, when I'm picking out a talent, I try to pick out something that I really connect to lyric wise, because I think that when you believe in the message you're singing, it's so much easier to convey that to an audience. So this past year, I sang the song If I Had My Way by Linda Eder. And the title is kind of misleading because it sounds like If I Had My Way, but it's not as sassy as it sounds. It's more so a message about making the world a better place, and striving to be better each and every day, which is something that I try to do myself. So it was a really special message. And then thinking about like a Miss America piece, I think that I'm, trying to do the exact same thing, taking something to the Miss America stage that is really authentic to me, and that, I want to share with all of America, which is crazy to say.
And so I'm a dancer and I've been a competitive dancer my entire life. And there's always a funny story because now the president of the Miss Arkansas board, she told my mom not to put me in dance because her daughter's feet were gross and they was very ballet feet. And my mom's like, look how cute she looked in a little tutu. So that kind of started my whole dance journey. And I was a ballerina and I did a bunch of contemporary work, which, as my director now likes to say, it's kind of gothy and just kind of like dreary. It's not something you'd see on the Miss Arkansas stage. So I really got to challenge myself with doing it like a jazz, musical theater, Spanish, all that type of upbeat stuff into doing one dance. And I did a bunch of tricks, which I typically don't do on the competitive stage, which I loved getting to kind of learn that style for this competition. So I got to continue that. And now, as Miss Arkansas's teen, I get to do a bunch of other styles and still learn within the Miss Arkansas style, if that even makes any sense. So I'm just excited to doing that. And as far as Miss America goes, I don't really know what song I'm doing yet. All I know is that it's going to be super upbeat.
I love it. I love it. And I love that you mention the very specific style that is pageant solos because it
Yeah.
is, you're so right. It is not the same as what you would see on a competition stage. And that has been the most difficult part, at least for me, is like figuring out like what makes a pageant solo good, like what not artistic thing. Because you're right. It can't be dreary. It can't be moody. It can't be like this like art piece and modern and like, all the things like college
It's
dances.
meant to entertain.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So I love that you bring that up. Okay, but we've talked about talent, so I want to know what you guys' favorite phase of competition is, and then tell us a little bit about why that phase is your favorite.
So my favorite phrase of competition is interview because I always have loved connecting to people and I got to show off kind of my funny personality because I like to think I'm a really funny person. But my interview was very
I think you're
political.
funny.
Oh, thank you, Camille. And my interview was very political just because of the nature of my CSI, which I know we'll get into later. But there was one part I got to like say Paul McCartney and make a Beatles joke, and I was really proud of myself for doing that. But it really is my favorite just because you get to kind of make the judges laugh and show your personality.
Yeah, I'd piggyback off that and say that's also my favorite phase of competition because I feel like it's the only phase where you're really front facing with the judges and you can make that connection like Peyton said. And I feel like that's really what sets you up for the rest of the week and the rest of competition is making that connection with the judges. And I think a lot of people think of pageants and they think of judgmental, like that's the first thing that comes to people's minds, and like even the saying like judges, but in another sense, like these are normal people who are just trying to fall in love with you too in the process of like judging you. And so I think that it's so cool to be able to like be in a room with someone or a set of like five people and to really like connect and make them fall in love with you and you fall in love with them. And I think that's such a special thing throughout competition and pageant. So I'd say interview too, because you really get to show your heart and why you want to serve your state and why you would be a good fit for it. So
And another part of interview too is like Peyton, you mentioned the CSI. So talk to us about your CSIs, talk about, individually what the name is. I'm sure you guys have a cutesy name for it. So tell us what that is, what you've got going on for the rest of this year as you serve the year as state title holders and what you're going to be focusing on with your CSIs.
So my platform or CSI is called Proudly Volunteer, and I started it. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a volunteering platform, and I started it because I grew up in a volunteering family. Both of my parents are medical professionals, and so I saw them constantly doing things for other people. And the older I got, the more I realized that volunteerism is something that we don't push enough, or we push it in wrong ways, in like required ways. And so basically what I try to strive to do with my initiative is show people how fun volunteerism can be, because I think we have this like misconception that it's something that you have to get down on your hands and knees and plant a tree for, or put on like an orange construction vest and build houses for. And that's just not the case. It's supposed to be enjoyable, and it's supposed to be something that, while you're in the process of giving back to someone else, you get to give to yourself a little bit, because it is such a rewarding thing. And so basically I just try to strive to help people find something that they're passionate about volunteering for, because that's exactly what makes our world go round. And we're testaments to that, Peyton and I, because if not for the volunteers of the Miss Arkansas organization, we wouldn't be on this call with you right now. So
Okay, my CSI is called Simple Acts of Citizenship, which the whole passion project for political science went when I was the United States Senate page. So I spent 5 months of my junior year up in Washington, D.C., learning from some of our most powerful leaders. And when I came back, the first thing I noticed is a lot of people didn't even know who our senators were, let alone our local officials and our mayors and our JPs and our county clerks and all those little tiny roles that have such an integral part of your everyday life. And so it came in kind of just advocating for that. And then it turned into how do we want to show up for each other, and how do we want to give back to our community, which is why me and Camille's CSIs kind of go hand in hand. Mine is all about advocating and just how are we going to listen to each other and still share our opinions. I like to say there's a difference between civics and politics, knowing what is active in your government or how you can get active, what is going on, how to be thoughtfully concerned, versus how polarized can we get and what is your political affiliation. So really just advocating for that in youth and our teenagers, especially with the next election coming up.
Absolutely. I love that. And that's so fun that both of you guys' CSIs go hand in hand. That's fun that you guys get to work together in another way this year. I love that.
for sure.
Okay, this question is probably the toughest, so you guys can take a second to think if you need to, but I want to know why you think the judges selected you specifically to represent the state.
I think the judges honestly picked me because I was able to answer those hard political questions, but I also was very engaged in our conversations and just kind of wanted to get to know them as well as them getting to know me in a way. One of the proudest achievements that I got all week was winning Miss Congeniality. So knowing that I was able to connect with every contestant on a deeper level. And also, I thought it was so funny because my CSI is all about voting, and I was voted Miss Congeniality. So just getting to engage with every person, which is the job of Miss Arkansas's team. And, you can have a good talent and you can be fit and you can have all these different aspects that help you become a Miss Arkansas's teen, but the root of Miss Arkansas and Miss Arkansas's teen is how are you going to engage with people? How are you going to make them feel? Because you never know. You could be the only Miss Arkansas they ever meet, and that will leave a lasting impact. So I think being able to get to know them, even though they're spitfiring all these questions at me, so I think that is the reason they picked me.
Yeah, I think in a similar vein, at least this is what I hope they picked me for, is because they were able to see my heart and, my heart for service and my heart for Arkansas and for the organization. I think that they saw in me probably something that was a little more proactive, someone who was gonna not only dream up ideas, but really execute them, because of the love that I have for my state and for this organization. And, I got the opportunity to talk to them after Miss Arkansas. And one of the only things that they all said to me during our judges meeting was, you need to keep that authenticity at Miss America and that like genuine love you have for others. And so I hope and think that it was probably because they got to know my heart a little bit better than everyone else at the pageant, which is similar to what Peyton said. When you really connect with someone, I think that is the end all be all, especially in terms of becoming Miss Arkansas, Miss Arkansas's teen.
I love that. I love that. And you mentioned Miss America. So, obviously that's up next for you guys. So you guys have a little bit, but I want to know what your prep is looking like. What are you guys focusing on?
Yeah, so prep is so right now it's nice because we do have a little bit of a break time before, we really have to hit the ground running. But I always say as soon as the crown goes on your head, it's smart to start preparing. So I think Peyton and I have both been kind of doing that in a sense already, still trying to lead healthy lifestyles, keeping up with the current events that we may be asked at Miss America, or just to be an informed citizen, like Peyton would like to say, and making sure that we're practicing our dances, going to voice lessons. I think that still incorporating all of the things that we did before we were Miss Arkansas and Miss Arkansas's teen are really good ways to prep. But also just relying on the people that we have now to help us. Our Miss Arkansas and Miss Arkansas's teen board have been so helpful in prepping us, connecting us to people that we might need to talk to in order to help us in areas that, we aren't as strong in, or that we may want to improve in. But also harnessing the skills that we are really good at, and, growing upon those as well. And I think that the best way to prep, like truly, I say this to everyone, is doing the job of Miss Arkansas and Miss Arkansas's teen. I think there is no better prep than being across the state of Arkansas, upwards, backwards, all around, and getting to talk to Arkansans from all walks of life. I think that that's one of the best ways to prep because, you never know where a judge is going to be from, what they're going to be like, what their personality is. And I think that meeting all the people in Arkansas and just getting to make connections with different kinds of people is really helpful in the prep for Miss America.
So that's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say how we're preparing, at least right now, is being Miss Arkansas and being Miss Arkansas's teen. I've learned so much just in the last month by meeting people, meeting different environments. And as Camille said, our directors seriously are amazing on getting us connected to the people that will make a difference. I've already gotten to interview U.S. Senator Bozeman from Arkansas for my Glimpses in Government webisode. So getting to do those experiences really is the best way to prepare to being Miss America and being Miss America's teen. Doing the job is going to prepare you for the job.
I love it. I love it. And that is a perfect segue into our next question, which, you guys were crowned, what was it, like a month-ish ago and some change maybe?
Days.
Yeah. So you guys have been doing a ton of appearances, I'm sure. So tell me what you guys' favorite appearances that you've done so far with your year.
My favorite appearance was my sweet grandma. The day that I won and got crowned, she got on that booking website and she booked me for her little small town for 4th of July. So she was so proud of her granddaughter. So we drove down to Pickett, Arkansas, which has about 3,000 people, and I felt like a celebrity. And she was so proud of me, and I got to see my great-grandma. So it was just such a full circle moment because I always grew up going to Nana Camp, which is like just sleepaway camp, just at my grandma's house. So I was such a fun moment getting to have one of my first real appearances, but also having my family that saw me get crowned, getting to be there.
I think that mine has probably been because I was so influenced and so in love with like the Miss Arkansas and Miss Arkansas's team that I saw as a little girl. I think the most rewarding and some of my favorite appearances thus far have been school appearances. I actually got to go to Peyton's neck of the woods. We're from opposite ends of Arkansas. So I went up to Peyton's area of Arkansas, which is Northwest Arkansas. And I got to go to a few after school programs. And for me, that is probably the most fulfilling and rewarding type of work I get to do as Miss Arkansas because, the kids that you meet, like Peyton said earlier, it may be the only Miss Arkansas that they ever meet. And they cherish so much seeing someone who is investing in them and who cares about, what they're doing at school, how their day has been, or just someone that is even willing to answer questions. Like the things that kids say are just so hilarious and so genuine. And, they truly, they light up your day to the upteenth degree. And so I think for me, that's the easiest and my favorite type of appearance to make. So, those have been super rewarding. Just my favorite thing that a kid said to me thus far was, I want to be Miss Arkansas one day. And I looked at them and I was like, girlfriend, you can be Miss Arkansas one day. Like that is so doable. You can do it. If you dream it, you can do it. And she was like, well, I guess I'll be Miss Arkansas when you're a grandma. And I was like,
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, because yeah, thank you. But also it's hilarious because you don't think about it. You think that like in your year, like you're infinite and you're young and you'll always be this young. But the truth is that there will be someone who is Miss Arkansas when I'm a grandma. And I mean, and that's the truth that I'm hoping for. Like I'm so excited that our organization is so strong that it will, hopefully live on for years and years and I'll get to one day watch little girls like that maybe I spoke to in a classroom, complete that dream on their own. So I think things like that are my favorite type of appearances because they're so front facing.
I love it. I love it. And I know you guys have been doing a ton of traveling since being crowned. So I want to know what you guys' favorite thing about your state. What is your favorite thing about Arkansas?
Oh, I'm in the car literally all the time, and we're called the natural state for a reason, and that has become very evident to me throughout driving all across Arkansas because no matter where I look, there's greenery and like there is something scenic. Like I could probably stop on the side of the road no matter where I was and find something beautiful to take a picture of. I think that's probably been one of my favorite aspects, but also the people. The people of Arkansas are just so kind, and there are so many small towns that I've already gotten to be in and at and meeting people and being in the community. And it's just so different when you have a small town feel and people who care about the job of Miss Arkansas and who are excited about meeting her. So I think the people of Arkansas really make this place what it is.
I have to agree to that. When I was in Washington, D.C., I was kind of in a culture twist almost because I would smile to people on the streets and they'd be like, "What are you doing? Why are you smiling at me? Why are you talking to me?" Versus when you're in Arkansas, there is no strangers. Everyone's best friends with everyone, and I really do love that about Arkansas. But as Camille said, I'm from Northwest Arkansas, and Northwest Arkansas is a booming place because of one reason, and that is Walmart, which I know is so funny to say, like, oh, one of my favorite things about Arkansas is Walmart, but it truly brings in so much economic development and growth to this area, and I love it so much. I go to at least like twice a day.
I love it. I love it. And our final question, if you guys could give one piece of advice to a girl competing at Miss Arkansas's teen or Miss Arkansas next year, what would it be?
I would definitely have to say if there's a will, there's a way. I came into the last prelim of the season. I really felt like if you told me a year ago that I would be Miss Arkansas's teen, I'd be like, no, I'm not. What? But it's crazy what you can accomplish in just a few months. And any girl, whether it's just 90 days or years to prepare, can be in this spot. And I really would just encourage any girl that wants to give it a shot to try it because you never know where you'll end up.
And that's such a good message to spread. And I think mine would probably be that obviously, the goal when you're going to Miss Arkansas and Miss Arkansas's teen is to walk away with the title of Miss Arkansas and Miss Arkansas's teen. But there is so much growth in the journey there. And I think that it's important to remember that. And I think my biggest piece of advice would be to be okay with either outcome because, obviously it's beautiful to be Miss Arkansas and Miss Arkansas's teen, and it is such an amazing experience filled with so much growth and so many opportunities. But it's also beautiful to just be Peyton Bolling and Camille Cathey. And so I think I would let girls know that, crowns do tarnish, but character never does. And so you really have to be okay with who you are at the end of the day and know that you can still make a difference with or without a crown. You might just have a little more fun in the process if you get to be Miss Arkansas or Miss Arkansas's teen, but to be comfortable with making change outside of wearing a crown and sash.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Camille and Peyton, for coming on and chatting with us about you and your title and all the amazing things that you've already been doing this year. And just know that we'll be rooting you on.
Thank you so much
Thank you
for
so
having
much,
me.
Elizabeth.
Of course, of course. And I will see the rest of you guys on our next episode. Bye, y'all.